Let's get ready to grumble!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Royal Grumble. I am Dan. I am by myself in the studio today as I've just watched the G1 final, and we thought we'd put out this quick show to go over the final. If you want to hear the rest of our review, if you listen to last night's show, we talked about everything leading up to the G1 Climax 28 final between Tanahashi and Ibushi. Also on that show, we reviewed Great American Bash 2008 as part of our 2008 reviews. The next one of those is coming next weekend when we do SummerSlam in the build-up to this year's WWE SummerSlam. But enough about WWE, on to New Japan. So the G1 Climax finals finished about 5 minutes ago, and I've come straight in here to record my thoughts on the show. I'm just going to go through the talking points on the show. There wasn't as many big reveals or surprises as there have been in previous years, but we got a few things to tide us over for the next few months, and we got the G1 Climax final itself. First one was Cody Rhodes has challenged Juice Robinson for the United States Championship. So we've got two challengers really eyeing up the US title, that being Cody Rhodes and Zack Sabre Jr., who defeated him in the tournament and has claimed he wants the title shot in the US. However, it may be Cody getting that shot. I predict it might be on the Destruction Tour instead. Cody Rhodes got the win in a tag match. It was Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page versus Finn Juice, and Cody Rhodes got the victory with the Vertebreaker, the Cop Killer Homicide's finisher, on Juice Robinson, countering the Pulp Fiction. After the all the way through the match as well, Cody Rhodes was still heel Cody Rhodes as well, which is kind of interesting to see considering how the Bullet Club Elite versus OG's thing is going. Leading on to that, we got a six-man never title match. The Young Bucks and Marty Scurll of the Bullet Club Elite versus the Bullet Club OGs of the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, teaming up with Taiji Ishimori, the Bone Soldier Reborn. I've made lots of jokes in the past about the six-man titles being hot potatoes. The title changed hands again here. Before the match, there was promos from both of them. Tonga Loa has a very long, boring style of promo, which a lot of people seem to hate. It is a bit annoying, but, you know, he's supposed to get bad reactions, so I'll let it slide for now. They challenged the Bullet Club Elites after pretending they didn't know who they were for the titles and defeated them, which will continue the OGs versus Elite feud going on. There's a slight worry that we've gone into NWO Wolfpack versus Hollywood territory, which is always going to be the case with the size of the Bullet Club and how long it's been going. But hopefully they can keep it interesting, and it's Omega is still outside of this right now. I hope to see him involved a bit more. I do expect Tama Tonga to challenge him for the title. Now that Ishii... So another big talking point was Ishii made his official challenge for the title. That may come at the Destruction Tour, which would lead King of Pro Wrestling to be Tama Tonga versus Kenny Omega. I'd have rather seen it the other way round, because I feel like Tama Tonga, as good as I think he is, probably isn't the sort of challenger that can headline King of Pro Wrestling, whereas Ishii is, even though you wouldn't expect either of them to defeat Omega for the title. But who knows, things could change massively on the Destruction Tour. The next big talking point on this show was Kazuchika Okada. It looks like the Rainmaker is coming back. He came out wearing his traditional robe that he's not worn throughout the entire G1. He teamed with Roppongi Vice, and he faced off against the team of Kushida, Rey Mysterio Jr. making another New Japan appearance, and pro wrestler Sengoku Enbu, who definitely wasn't someone you'd recognize. He definitely wasn't the leader of Taguchi Japan, for instance. I love Taguchi. I absolutely love him. So Okada's starting to get back to his old self. In this match, they really played up that we might get some more Okada versus Rey Mysterio type stuff, which would be really interesting to see. The big part of this match was after the match, Okada, in his post-match interview, fired Gedo as his manager. Now, these have been together ever since Okada came back from Excursion, became the Rainmaker. So it's quite strange to see. It'll be very strange to see Okada without Gedo by his side anymore. I don't know what that means for Gedo and Chaos or where we are going forward. We didn't get anything between Okada and Jay White today, but I feel like that's going to come soon. We also got a Suzuki Gun versus LIJ 8-man tag. It was Naito, Evil, Sanada, and Bushi versus Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., Kanemaru, and El Desperado. Sanada picked up the win over Kanemaru in this match with the skull end. However, you feel like this might be a big thing going forward. Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki both seem to really hate Naito, so it'll be interesting to see where this one goes to. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of stuff like there normally is coming out of these shows. So it's time to get onto the final. The A block winner, Hiroshi Tanahashi, versus the B block winner, Kota Ibushi. And it was exactly the type of match you'd expect from these two. Just ridiculously hard hitting. The first big thing was Kenny Omega was obviously in the corner of Kota Ibushi. In the corner of Tanahashi was Katsuyori Shibata. We spoke about Shibata a little bit on last night's show. Shibata is one of my all-time favorite New Japan talents. I honestly miss seeing him compete every day, and I'm in that constant battle with myself over I want to see him be healthy, and I can't imagine him getting back in the ring after his injury. However, there's the selfish part of me that really wants to see him compete again. And seeing him in the corner of Tanahashi, considering their history, if you don't know about that story, the best place to go and Google, just type in The Redemption of Katsuyori Shibata. It's a video by Showbuckle. It's up on Vimeo, and it tells the full Shibata story of returning to New Japan and his feud with Tanahashi and a few other people in New Japan, leading to him eventually challenging Okada last year for the title in one of my favorite New Japan matches. That's kind of tainted by what happened during and after the match with Shibata getting a subdural hematoma and quite honestly being lucky to be alive after all that. But it was quite emotional for me to see him in the corner of Tanahashi and almost distracted me from the fact that we're about to see the G1 final. Onto the match itself, yes, it was everything you expect from these two. Tanahashi looks to be on the best form he's been on in years. I'd say the best form since Wrestle Kingdom 10 maybe, and that's a very big step because his Wrestle Kingdom 10 match with Okada is absolute perfection. This is the best Tanahashi match I think since then, and he's had great matches in the last few years as well. Kota Ibushi is such a special talent as well, and everyone kind of expected Ibushi to win this. They announced the Wrestle Kingdom 13 logo, which had a golden star on the 13 as well, which made people think we're getting the golden stars facing off at Wrestle Kingdom. And instead, we get an amazing closing sequence. There was an amazing sequence halfway through the match, I should mention first, where for a solid minute, they just both slapped each other as hard as they could. And the crowd went absolutely crazy in the Budokan, which is such a huge venue and looked so amazing on camera and sounded amazing. And it really added to the drama and how important the G1 is. The finish was Kota Ibushi. He hit a moonsault double knee where he actually bounced on Tanahashi that was absolutely sickening. That led to Ibushi going through his finishing sequences. Went for the Kamigoye. It was countered. Tanahashi eventually hit 3 high-five flows. 1 to a face-down Ibushi. Ibushi actually stood up for the second one and took the crossbody. And then a third high-five flow put Ibushi down, allowing Tanahashi, the ace, the talent of the century, all the nicknames. He is the G1 Climax winner once again. His third G1 Climax, I believe. And, I mean, we're in the twilight I won't. The twilight's a bit harsh. We're in the later stages of the career of Tanahashi. He's been through so much. He saved New Japan. He's the guy who carried New Japan on his back and brought them into this new era. And it will be really interesting if he's. I don't see him losing the briefcase. I don't see Omega losing the title unless something big changes. So it'd be really great to see Tanahashi versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom. And I think it'd be an absolutely phenomenal match. Whether Tanahashi wins the title or not is a whole other story. Thinking about how much I doubted him going into this tournament, how much I doubted him going into the final, I could see him winning the title at Wrestle Kingdom for his big last run and being the guy to defeat Omega. And that would have lots of big implications. Tanahashi was Omega's first real opponent as a heavyweight when he came up after Wrestle Kingdom 10. It was supposed to be Nakamura, but Nakamura was leaving to join WWE, so Tanahashi stepped up, and they had a really great match at New Beginnings, 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, that cemented Kenny Omega as a heavyweight and one of the top guys in New Japan. And to see that come full circle into a title match at Wrestle Kingdom would be absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, the G1 Climax tournament has been absolutely phenomenal once again. We've had some really great matches. I normally crown an MVP of the tournament, and it's a bit tougher this time, but I think my MVPs of the tournament pretty much all land in the B block apart from one. My A block MVP is Jay White, because before the tournament, things were starting to click for the Switchblade, and I feel now coming out of it, his character is so much better defined, and he's considered a genuine threat and one of the only true heels in New Japan as well. And it'd be really great to see. It looks like the road will lead to him and Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, and if he was to topple Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, that would just further cement him as a top guy in New Japan, and I'm all for that. I really like Jay White at this point. The B block's a bit more cloudy because there's so many great talents in there. The honourable mention is Toru Yano in his whole story of not wanting to cheat and use his amateur wrestling style more, which led to him just getting beat in the opening matches. His match with Ishii on the opening night was really great for the fact that Ishii cheated to win, and he uses Yano's tactics against him. But Yano's developed so much within the space of these 9 matches, and he's really improved his style now. He's still got the Sublime Master Thief stuff, but now he's incorporating amateur wrestling style into it, and it's leading him to have even better contests, and I'm really happy to see Toru Yano develop even at this stage of his career. Zack Sabre Jr. had a tough tournament. The story they told with him was really good in the fact that in the New Japan Cup, he was so calm and collected and was just destroying people. Whereas here, when he couldn't get the job done, he got frustrated, and that's what led to him losing matches. And that psychology was really great going through, leading up to eventually him defeating Naito, where he kind of overcame his frustrations, which it's interesting to see someone who's technically a heel wrestler have a story like that through a tournament, and it's what makes New Japan and the G1 so great, that you're not just seeing the baby faces overcome adversity, you're seeing the heels become better and more sinister and more evil. Zack Sabre Jr. also introduced the Cremation Lily, which is another ridiculously sickening looking submission hold. Kenny Omega had an absolutely amazing tournament. He lost his last 3 matches, but the rest of the tournament he was on fire. And even the matches he lost, there's kind of extenuating circumstances. Well, there's big extenuating circumstances on one of them. His final night match against Ibushi was something else entirely, and then his match with Ishii was probably the match of the tournament. There's no real doubt about that. Same with Kota Ibushi, another really great tournament for him. But the MVP will always be Tomohiro Ishii. I think I've given it him 2 out of the 3 years, if not all 3 years now, that I've been doing the G1 reviews for the Royal Rumble. And it's because Ishii kind of gets a bum rap at times. We all know how great he is, but he's Ishii. We know he has great matches, and he's never really going to be that main eventer. But in these G1s, he really gets to show what he's capable of, having main event matches and defeating Kenny Omega in that contest. That's the second time in these 3 years he's defeated the IWGP champion and this will only be the first time he challenges the champion. His last title match was against Naito at, I don't remember the show. It was in May. It was before Dominion in 2 years ago now, before Naito lost the title to Okada, leading to the history-making reign. So it'd be really great to see Ishii progress from here. I mean, the thing about Ishii as well is he's in his 40s now. He's not going to be a top guy, but he's such a reliable talent, and the matches he had for this tournament were all superb. There's very rare Ishii has an off night, and especially on the G1, he's always a top guy to watch. So that is the G1 Climax over. Before I'll talk about one other topic on this that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday because it happened about 15 minutes after we recorded. Something got announced which has an implication for New Japan. I just want to say thank you to everyone who purchased our G1 Climax wall charts. We apologize, they came out quite late in the day, but next year we're hoping to do them again, and this next year we will release them as early as possible, so we will have international shipping and all of that stuff, so we can send out your wall charts and you'll get them. We've also learned that A4 envelope shipping is slightly more expensive than the usual shipping, so we'll fix all that for next year. We will have G1 wall charts, and we might branch out into a few other bits as well. So keep an eye on our Twitter, at Royal Grumble Pod on Twitter, or on Facebook, at Royal Grumble, and you'll see whether we announce anything like this, and hopefully more New Japan stuff, as especially over the last year or so, you'll have noticed on the show that members of my broadcasting colleagues have become more interested in New Japan, as WWE necessarily isn't offering what they want in their professional wrestling, and that's a massive thing that's kind of showing across professional wrestling. And New Japan is a solid number 2 now to WWE, and it offers something for those fans who don't necessarily get along with the product as much. I have my down moments with it a lot, whereas New Japan offers the type of wrestling I really like. And as they're incorporating more and more storytelling, their storytelling isn't immediate as WWE, but it's there, and it pays off so well if you follow the product. And I'm starting to see more friends and listeners of the show messaging as well, saying how much they've embraced New Japan over the last few months, and their long-term storytelling is something that kind of like harkens back to our youth when there was only 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year. So it's really great, and the G1 is the best time to jump in on New Japan. So if you haven't watched any of the G1, there's plenty of matches we can point out to you. I might even try and put up a list, or I can try and list some matches now. There's some matches I've listed already, but in the A block, I'd check out Jay White versus Okada and Tanahashi. Even his match with Suzuki as well was quite good. Okada versus Suzuki was great. Okada Tanahashi from the final night. You could pretty much watch most. Okada Hangman Page also was a really great match in that A block. It is definitely worth checking out. In the B block, there were so many great contests. Omega versus Goto from earlier in the tournament was really great. Goto also had a quite good match with Zack Sabre Jr. Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. versus Omega versus Naito versus Sanada, all really great matches. Ishii versus Sanada. I could go forever on all this. The B block had so many great matches. You can pretty much put on any B block night on New Japan World, and you will find at least one, if not more, really great matches. I don't think there was many duds in the B block, unless it involved Tama Tonga getting DQ'd a lot, but that holds a higher purpose, so there's no criticism there. So yeah, that's the G1 Climax done. So what's next for New Japan? For New Japan strictly, we have the Destruction Tour in September, leading up to their next US show, which I don't remember the title of right now, which is taking place on September 30th. And I'm sure as time will go on, we'll start to see more stuff announced for those tours. In October will be King of Pro Wrestling, which is one of their biggest shows of the year. Probably it's the third biggest show after, like the third biggest standalone show, I should say, after Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion. And it's the one that kind of cements everything for Wrestle Kingdom in January. Outside of the New Japan sphere, they're involved in the thing we talked about yesterday. They are going to WrestleMania with Ring of Honor, where they have sold out Madison Square Garden. And as great as an accomplishment is for Ring of Honor, that New Japan talent helps that so much. I don't think we can doubt the New Japan influence on that sellout and the fact that it's at WrestleMania weekend and all these things. Just having Okada on the poster for it and putting it on sale on WrestleMania weekend should be enough for at least 10,000 tickets, if you ask me. There's an involvement with All In coming up on September 1st. Probably the biggest independent wrestling show in the world. Run by the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes. If you don't know about it already, it's pretty much every top indie talent or the New Japan talent involved in it too. They've sold out the Sears Center in Chicago. It's going to be live on the Fight Network and on Ring of Honor's Honor Club. That should be a really great show. They've also got involvement with Revolution Pro here in the UK. I'm a big follower of Rev Pro. I'm going to their show, and now Daryl is actually joining me on the road to Rev Pro Summer Sizzler on Friday. Sadly, we'll be recording next Sunday's show before that. We might try and record a little bit like on the way home, just to add into the show, so you've got a fresh Summer Sizzler review. But that show contains Tomohiro Ishii versus Walter, which should be absolutely out of this world good. I cannot wait for that. And you've also got Kushida on the show too. It's Rev Pro's York Hall shows especially are always really great spectacles. They bring in New Japan talent and put on these really awesome shows. Their last York Hall show was the best one I'd been to, and that includes the Global War shows as well. It's always worth watching them. And the other bit of news that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday because it was announced just after we finished recording, Graham had left the studio and set off home when it was posted that Revolution Pro are actually going to have TV tapings on the second weekend in September at York Hall. They haven't said what TV network it's for or what other talent's involved, only that Zack Sabre Jr. is on the poster, which makes you think there's going to be some New Japan involvement there, much like their deal with Ring of Honor. If Rev Pro can get a decent TV deal in the UK or elsewhere, that's unbelievable for Revolution Pro. And they are, in the UK now, they're a company that has no ties to any like big organisation apart from New Japan, and it's what makes them stand out. They turned down WWE Network a few years ago. That was the rumour, because they didn't want to lose that New Japan tie, and it's paid off for them because they've got quite a good little talent roster now of UK and international talent, and they produce something that is quite different from other companies in the UK, and to see them get on TV is really great. That'll be really interesting. I'm hoping I might get to attend at least one of the days of the TV taping. I'm in London that weekend, but I'm at another event, so it depends on timings. So we'll hopefully have some stuff on the TV tapings and what they mean. I'm sure we'll get more news as well as the next week or two goes on. So that's it for the G1 Climax and for the Royal Rumble this weekend. You've had 2 shows. Go back and listen to yesterday's show as well for the rest of the review of the tournament. And we will see you next weekend for our SummerSlam 2008 review. If you want, you can watch the show and send us any thoughts and feedback you have on 2008 and any thoughts and feedback you have on the G1 Climax, and we'll talk a bit about them on the show next week, where it will be me joined by Daryl, who will be fresh from suspension from this week's show after some comments he made previously. You have to listen to the archive for that. So find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Royal Grumble, on Twitter at Royal Grumble Pod. We're on twitch.tv/Royal Grumble. We've got our Big Cartel page. The G1 Climax wall charts are out of date now, but we might be putting more stuff up there in the future, so it's always worth bookmarking it. Royal Grumble Podcast.bigcartel.com. And you can find the podcast on Apple, where it's really important now if you go back and subscribe. Apple have wiped everyone's subscriptions, apparently. So if you go back and subscribe, that would mean a lot to us, and leave us a review while you're there. We're also on Stitcher, and we're on Spotify. So if you subscribe to Spotify, or even if you use Spotify for free on your computer, you can get the podcast on there too. And you can put it into your playlist along with all your Discover playlists and all that stuff. So thank you for listening, and have a great weekend.